Yes, people. How are you doing? All right, here we go. Welcome to the Table of Men this evening. This is the power of gratitude. I have been looking forward to this, and I must tell you that this is perhaps one really interesting one that I think we should talk about, particularly when it pertains to mental health. This is Mental Health Month. This is Mental Health Month, and we are going all the way, just bringing awareness to the subject of mental health. And I think that this is something that we must pay attention to. I mean, talk about at the very least. So, this episode, we're just going to talk about gratitude, um, what it's about, what you should know, what you should observe, the things you should take cognizance of, and everything in between. So tonight, I forgot my drink again, but I think maybe sometime in the show I'll go for it. But before I do that, I want to ask a question. How does gratitude change your mindset, or how does gratitude influence your mental health? Because it's easy to just say, oh, if you're grateful, you have, you know healthier mind, your mental health will be great, and what have you. But what is the practical deal behind this? Like, what's the practical deal? How does it so happen that a person how does it so happen that the person is able to, pardon me, yeah, I think we're going to do it this way. Yeah, so how does it so happen that the person, just suddenly embraces gratitude, and for all it's worth, it affects their mental health? I must really speak to that, because that's something that I think we need to talk about. So just before we go ahead, if you're live, you may want to share the links with your friends and pals. Let them know that we are live discussing about the power of gratitude and your mental health, how it affects your mental health. So, excuse me. All right, so let's talk about how gratitude changes your mindset. Now, this is it. There's something about gratitude, and that's the fact that gratitude shifts your focus, the focus of your mind. So, in the absence of gratitude, you find yourself complaining, worrying, um, um, maybe doubting. You are just you are in a negative state, and that negative state has an influence on the state of your mind. So, if you're not focusing on the things that empower you, you would usually be focusing on the things that disempower you. And that is a very critical one that you should look out for. So, for us as men, we have the natural tendency to be very logical. Like, we want to look at everything from a 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2 standpoint. If it is not this, then it is this. So, in other words, if I don't have money, then I'm broke. But is it always really like that? Or if if I'm not successful, then I'm not. If I'm not promoted, then I'm stagnant. But life doesn't actually work that way, because there are many things that happen that make for the fullness of a process. Like, life is in processes. A lot of things happen in processes. So nothing is in an isol in, iso- in iso- nothing is in isolation. So you must understand that whatever it is that you're thinking about, as far as life is concerned, there is a process to it. A child doesn't just appear. There's a process. You don't just succeed. There's a process. You hear things like right things done daily compound into success, and wrong things done daily compound into failure. So what that says is that if you do certain things, long enough, you will get certain outcomes guaranteed. So what that means for us is this: as men, if you are able to focus your mind on certain things, you will be able to engender certain perspectives, and those perspectives have the capability to transform the way your mind is positioned. So let me give you a perfect example. If you are looking to keep your car safe and you focus your mind on on how not to lose the car, on how not to have an accident, on how not to leave the door open, on how not to leave the vehicle vulnerable, whatever it is, as long as your focus is on all of the things that can go wrong, you will inadvertently have positioned your mind to focus on negativity. You'll be releasing negative energy, and the release of negative energy affects your mind. Trust me, stimulus coming in from outside or the ones that you generate from inside have a very, 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 very radical way of affecting your mind. Let me give an example. There's a saying that was made by Paul the apostle. By Paul, he said something about positivity and negativity. Let me pull it out. I think it's Philippians. I think, yeah. And then it says something like, yes, it says, and now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing: fix your thoughts on what is true. Now look at the sequence. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. What is this saying? He's simply saying, focus your mind on positives. If you focus on positives, you will likely have a positive life. As he thinks in his mind, so is he. So the kind of thoughts that you fill your mind with determine the kind of outcome that you experience or the kind of life that you have. If you are always thinking about insufficiency, always thinking about lack, always thinking about what is not enough, always thinking about how bad the economy is, the difficulty in the land, the difficulty in the land, if you're always thinking about those kind of things, you will always have those kind of experiences. So, what we're saying here is gratitude is a positive stimulus. If you focus on gratitude, you would be positioning your mind to engender the power of positivity. I'm telling you, this is pure science because gratitude will stir certain kinds of emotions inside of you, while doubt will stir certain kinds of emotions inside of you. So, negative emotions will, brew negative feelings. Negative thoughts will brew negative emotions, and that will leave you with negative feelings. Positive thoughts will brew positive emotions and leave you feeling positive. Now, this is where it influences your mental health. When you focus on positive things like gratitude, you realize that your mind begins to ruminate on those positives. Your mind begins to ruminate on the things that are within the spectrum of positivity. Like you're thinking about how fantastic that experience was. You're thinking about how excited you were about something that happened. You're thinking about how you felt when something amazing happened to you or came into your life. Perhaps maybe when you had a child, or when you hit a promotion, or when you landed a dream job, or when you gained an admission, maybe for a PhD or a master's or what have you, or when you secured a meeting, or when you hit a first big sum of money. There's something about focusing your thoughts on those things. Now, I want to just explain briefly how these things work. So when you focus your mind, your thoughts on those things, what you inadvertently do is that you position your intellect to dwell on those things. And the beauty of it is, I mean, I think some episodes ago we discussed about meditation, right? And how meditation happens, particularly in passive states. So when you think about, those things that you can't be grateful for, what happens is your intellect, which is divided into three parts: the conscious mind, which is where you are thinking about those positive things, those things that make you grateful. Your conscious mind, is thinking on those things, and then when it thinks on it for some time, it passes those positive thoughts to your subconscious mind, right? And then in your subconscious mind, it begins to ruminate and dance and roll and roll and roll and roll over. When it rolls over for some time, it bubbles back into your conscious mind. That's when you remember that, oh, I was thinking about this. Oh, I remember this. I remember that. It becomes memories. Now, when you dwell on those memories, you reminisce on them, you generate positive emotions. After generating positive emotions, they go back into your subconscious mind. At some point, it gets deep into your unconscious mind, which is the deepest part of your intellect. Listen, the beauty of this is once it gets to that point, you are now on autopilot because you do not have to do anything intentionally to think about that. So once there's a trigger, something within your environment or a memory, a picture, or something related to that thing, it just brings it up from your unconscious mind, and then it runs it straight into your conscious mind, and it triggers the emotions, positive emotions. Now this is where it makes the most sense. You see, now that triggers, pictures, images, sounds, names, people, and what have you. Once all those, triggers begin to bring back, those memories, bring back that the opportunity to relive those experiences, you begin to generate positive emotions without thinking, without conscious effort. It's now in involuntary mode. Now, the ability for you to be able to generate positive emotions involuntarily is what influences your mental health. Because at the end of the day, the big deal about your mental health is actually all about your emotions. Negative emotions means poor mental health, or extreme emotions. Yes, let me say extreme emotions are the things that trigger very poor mental health. So when you have extreme emotions like anger, like jealousy, like doubt, like fear, those extreme emotions, when you allow them to linger, they also stimulate negative thoughts. And the stimulation of the negative thoughts further triggers more negative emotions, and then the cycle continues. When that cycle continues, it begins to affect your body because those emotions begin to influence the secretion of certain hormones in your body. Those hormones are the things that weaken your cells and makes you vulnerable to disease, makes you vulnerable to conditions. Your heart rate begins to, your heart begins to work faster and harder than normal than it should. And then, all manner of things. The negative hormones, yeah, the bad blood hormones, let me call them that, begin to put pressure on your liver and on your kidneys. Yeah, because they have to be broken down, they have to be excreted and what have you. And then you realize that at the end of the day, when you do this for long, consistently for 10, 15, 20 years, it becomes a problem that you get to live with. And that's why you see that people who are always happy, who are always joyful, hardly live with sicknesses. Like they don't deal with the kind of sicknesses that people who have mental health issues deal with. And that's why gratitude is a very, very, very potent force that we must embrace as men. Again, we cannot afford to think in terms of we can't afford to think in terms of one plus one logic. Logic alone doesn't cut it. you're going to need to be very, very intentional about how you process your thoughts, the kind of thoughts you allow yourself to process. You're going to need to do so much work about your thoughts. Your mind is your responsibility. Your mind is your responsibility. And until you take charge of your mind, sorry, let me just type that into the comments here. So your mind is your responsibility, and until you take charge of your mind, you're not going to be able to effectively master your mental health. So that's how gratitude works. I mean, you get to hear it in churches, you get to hear it in motivational talks, about gratitude and all those things. But again, I think it's always a good thing to get into the science of it, right? Like, get into the science of it and understand how. I think you should even conduct some research. Maybe get on YouTube and then search how gratitude affects mental health, scientifically, and then you get to see a documentary on it, or get on AI and ask and let it explain to you how these things happen. Believe me, if you maintain a posture of gratitude, you will experience amazing things in terms of your mental health. Trust me, you will experience amazing things in terms of your mental health. Now, I did some studies, I did some research on mental health, on gratitude, and how it improves your mental health. And there are some things that I came about. So, my search was how gratitude affects your mental health. And then the first thing I saw that it actually improves your mental health. First of all, through increased happiness. Like regular gratitude, gratitude practice boosts dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters associated with happiness. Remember, I was talking about hormones earlier. Yes. So when you practice gratitude, you, you trigger positive emotions. The positive emotions stimulate these hormones to be secreted, dopamine and serotonin, happiness hormones, or they call them feel good hormones, the hormone that makes you feel good, right? So when you practice gratitude, you secrete dopamine and serotonin. Then it also reduces depression and anxiety. That is one of the amazing things that gratitude does for you. It reduces depression and anxiety, helps you to break negative thought patterns and decreases symptoms of depression and anxiety. Check that out. So just juxtapose this with the discussions that we've had just before now. It just makes a lot of sense because there's a science behind this. There's science behind this. And then there's stress management. Gratitude acts as a coping mechanism, lowering cortisol levels. So cortisol is stress hormones, right? It's a stress hormone. So it lowers cortisol levels related, and then which now helps you to relax the nervous system. So you see that the bad blood hormone, one of them is cortisol, which is stress, makes you all worked up. Gratitude helps to lower cortisol levels because you are secreting the positive hormones, dopamine and serotonin. You get that? I mean, for those who are not science proficient, don't worry. Just understand that there are some fluids inside your body, some liquids in your body that that gets released when you have positive thoughts or when you have positive feelings of happiness and what have you. They just get released and then it circulates around your body, makes you feel a certain way, and then makes you feel alive and healthy. That's part of the beauty of it. And then there's also the physical health boosts that come from gratitude. The first one is better sleep. My goodness. If you have not been sleeping well, you may want to start practicing gratitude. A 2012 study showed that gratitude leads to better sleep quality. Can you beat that? It also lowers your blood pressure. So research, like there's one in the NIH shows that it can decrease diastolic blood pressure and improve heart health. That is gratitude. That's the power of gratitude. And then there's also a stronger immune system. So when you are grateful, you can boast of a stronger immune system. Grateful people tend to take better care of their health, leading to fewer illnesses. You see that? And then let's talk about the social and emotional benefits. I'm sure this is going to touch on some of the things I spoke about earlier. The first is stronger relationships. Expressing gratitude increases social connection and enhances empathy and also reduces toxic emotions like envy and resentment. Remember what I said about about extreme emotions? Yes. So when you are able to avoid extreme emotions, you lean and tend towards positive emotions, which helps you to build um, more better social connections. Let me ask you, if you were saying somebody who is always envious and you see somebody who is always excited, happy, positive, grateful, who would you lean towards? The answer is your answer is as good as mine, right? Exactly. And then you have enhanced resilience. Gratitude helps individuals navigate trauma and difficult times by finding positive meaning. So when you are grateful, like even when you are broke, for example, can you find something to be grateful for? Like, maybe in this moment, now if I had money, now maybe I'll have been, jumping around to places, but at least because I don't have money to go out, I can sit in my house and rest and sleep and pay attention to my family, spend time with my spouse, spend time with my children. That's part of how gratitude helps you to change perspective and to cope, to have increased resilience or enhanced resilience in the face of difficulty. And then the last one there is increased self-esteem or improved self-esteem. By appreciating what they have, people are less likely to compare themselves to others, which boosts self-esteem. All of this from gratitude. Isn't it amazing how interesting gratitude can be, the power of gratitude? And this is something that I think that we should talk about a lot. In fact, repeatedly. This episode is not enough to nail everything about gratitude, I tell you. It's not enough. So, how do you cultivate gratitude? Because that is the big question on the table. How do you cultivate gratitude? How do you cultivate gratitude? Or how do you practice gratitude? Three things I'm going to talk about. The first is journaling gratitude. You know, in church, my pastor, Pastor Yemi David, brought up a practice some years ago about journaling your praise points, throughout the year. Like you write out the things that happened that you are grateful for. And then at the end of the year, when we gather for the annual Thanksgiving, we now, look at those, take that list out and begin to thank God for that, for every item on that list. I mean, there was a particular year that I wrote about 50 something things. I mean, last year, I think I wrote about 45 items thereabout. And it's amazing when you can take stock of the things that have happened for you throughout a period of time. Journaling gratitude it's a fantastic practice. It makes you keep tabs on the positives in your life. It makes you keep tabs on the positives in your life. Because when you begin to, you're writing out every single thing that happens, every positive thing that you're thankful for. What are you thankful for today? Write it. What is there to be grateful for today? Are you grateful for health? Or did you see somebody that was so sick and you just thought about yourself, how amazingly lucky you are to not be dealing with such an ailment? Journal it, write it down. Oh, I'm grateful. And let me say this, we are going to launch the gratitude challenge very soon. This has even been in my heart since January, like second or third week of January this year. And I just felt we should hold on. It feels like this is perhaps the perfect time to launch the gratitude challenge. You know, let's just do 2 weeks of gratitude, 14 days of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Can you find something to be grateful for every single day for the next 14 days? And then let's see how far that can go. Journal everything that you can be grateful for each day for the next 14 days, and then we'll see how it goes. Can we go about that? Let's do that. So from Monday, from Monday is going to be 15, 16, 17, 18. So Monday from the 18th of January of May. Well, let's start from Sunday. From the 17th of May, Sunday, we're going to be launching the gratitude challenge. We're going to be asking ourselves, What are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for today? We're going to be writing out those things and then we're going to be posting it. I mean, do a video, talk about what you're grateful for. You want to put it on your WhatsApp status, gratitude challenge. Just load it out there and then check out how your mental health will be over the next 14 days. It's going to be amazing. I tell you, it's going to be amazing. So amazing. So we're going to do that gratitude challenge. We launch the gratitude challenge. Gratitude challenge takes off this Sunday. Yeah, this Sunday, May 17th, 2026. What are you grateful for? That's going to be the question every day. What are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for today? And then hashtag gratitude challenge. And then, of course, hashtag ManityHQ. Yeah. So we're going to be having that. And then, we're going to just, every day share on social media. Tag us on LinkedIn, tag us on WhatsApp, tag us on Instagram, on TikTok, tag us everywhere. Tag us. Let's read about it. Let's hear about it. It's going to be fabulous, I must say. Fabulous. Okay. Another thing that you can do to practice gratitude is to write gratitude letters. I mean, this sounds simple, but hey, it's so amazing. So can you identify somebody that you want to express gratitude to for something that they have done? It may be something they did many years ago, maybe something they did last week, maybe something they did yesterday, or even today. It may even be ManityHQ for bringing this conversation to the fore. Whoever, it can be your father, it can be your mother, it can be your sister, your spouse, even your child, your boss in the office, or your staff, a staff in your business. It can be your neighbor, it can be anybody. But can you write a letter of thanks to someone you appreciate? It is another way to practice gratitude. It just shifts your mind to the things that matter, to the things that help you, to the things that trigger positive emotions inside of you. Trust me, if you do this, and then the final one, the third one is mindfulness. This is all about focusing on the present moment and appreciating the small things. Oh my goodness. You know, we've had in a very unstable power supply for some days, very unusually. Comes on for 35 minutes, goes off for another 1 hour or 2 hours, comes on again for another 1 hour, goes off for another 35 minutes, comes on again for another, you know, 30 minutes, goes off for another 25 minutes, and then and you have that all through the night, and then you can't even sleep well. But yesterday night, the power was stable all through the night. And I slept. And you know what? I thought about when I woke up this morning, the first thing I thought about was how stable the power was, and how well I could sleep. I could sleep without a thought in the world, without a care in the world. And my wife was saying, now you have had your sleep. I said, no, 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 no. One night sleep is not enough to cater for 2 nights of not having enough sleep. So I'm going to continue that sleep tonight. And I'm expecting that the power will be as stable as it was yesterday night, because that is, it comes from mindfulness. From mindfulness, just appreciating the small things, appreciating your nose. People talk about my nose, and my nose is so nice. I appreciate it, man. My eyebrows, so beautiful, so lovely. Being mindful of the little things, being thankful for the small things, appreciating the little things. Yes. Someone gave you a lift, appreciate it. You don't deserve it. It's not your right. It's not your right. So be mindful of those, little things. Somebody who gives you a ride to the office and back every day, you perhaps want to send them a message. That's the gratitude letter. Send them a message thanking them for always showing up, for always taking you to the office and bringing you back, every time. So you want to go all the way with your expression of gratitude, and that will be so amazing. So practice these 3 things that we've discussed about: journaling gratitude, Writing gratitude notes and letters, and then mindfulness, being mindful of those little things, appreciating the small things in life. Those things help you to live a better life, be a better person overall. And you realize that your mental health would be, top notch, top notch. And with good mental health, you have good health, good physical health. And with good physical health, of course, you can pursue your dreams. You can achieve all the things that you look forward to, that you dream about. And that's how the power of gratitude goes. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And then you may want to also share your experience with gratitude, how it has influenced you, how it has affected you, an experience you've had with gratitude. Share with us in the comment section. I will be happy to read it and return comments to you as well. Yes. So thank you always for always joining us at the table of men. It's always a delight, and I'm grateful for every single one of you who has been here with us tonight. Thank you. Remember to share the videos with people you care about. Gratitude is not something that should be taken lightly. The power of gratitude influences our mental health, especially as men. Guys, have a good one. See you next time.